There aren't many up-and-coming prospects that can make the US men's national team 2026 World Cup roster. Maybe one or two, and I'll mention them throughout the video. However, we have quite a few rising American prospects that could very well be in the 2030 World Cup roster, and perhaps help take the program to the next level. So, who are they? Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And today I want to go through 7 US men's national team prospects that I rate highly and you should follow. You should keep track of them. And you may be wondering, why 7? Why not 6? Why not 10? Why not 5? Or why not just 3? And we've been through this before. 7 is a very special number. I always pick 7. Remember, we have the 7 things we learned. We have 7 days of the week, 7 days of creation, 7 continents. Samara will kill you in 7 days, 7 wonders of the world, 7-Eleven. It's just a wonderful number. Now, before we start, this is what you must know. All the players that I'm going to mention in this video must have been eligible for the U20 World Cup in 2025. Or younger, of course. I'm also not really ranking these players. The order is just random, but I will be rating their potential from 1 to 5 stars. Again, this is all my personal opinion of how good I think they can become. 5 stars is world class. 4 is elite. Like, for example, to me, Christian Pulisic is a 4.5. He's somewhere in between elite and world class. Now, 3 being a decent to good starter in a top 5 league. Like, for example, Joe Scally to me is a 3, while Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams are a 3.5. Now, 2 would be a very good MLS player, and 1 is not really worth talking about, and no player in this video is going to get a 1-star rating, obviously. Now, drop a like in this video if you haven't already. I'm sorry, I don't like asking for it, but it helps the channel quite a bit, and as a YouTube host, I kind of have to do it. And you may be wondering right now, why do I have that tiny believe sign behind me? Because we used to have a very big believe sign. And the reason for that is we lost the big believe sign and we are on a tight budget. So we had to get the smaller one. And to that, I have to say one thing. Size does not matter. It never has, and it never will. Okay, player number 1 is Brooklyn Raines, and he's currently 20, so he's actually the oldest player that I'm going to mention this video. He turns 21 in March of 2026. But again, he's a very talented midfielder. One can argue he was probably our best player in the U20 World Cup that we played in 2025. He's calm, composed on the ball, plays hard, defends well, can connect passes, can progress the ball forward. There is something there. The talent is there. Now, he recently just left the Houston Dynamo in MLS, where sure, he was inconsistent, but he also wasn't terrible. This is actually a terrible team to develop a player. But yeah, he also was far from perfect with them. And I would even argue that he's not even a good MLS player right now. He's just a good MLS prospect. Now he went to New England, where he's going to work under Marko Mitrovic. That is his former USMNT U20 coach, where he played very well. So I'm expecting Brooklyn Raines to have a breakout season in MLS in New England. And after that, perhaps in 2027, when he's 21, turning 22, he makes a big move to Europe. Now, just an interesting fact about Brooklyn Raines, he was actually born in Liberia. Then he was adopted when he was like 15 months old, and that had him move to Chicago, and he was raised obviously in the United States of America. And another thing that's interesting is that he spent 3 years in the Barcelona Residency Academy in Arizona, like many other players that are professional players in MLS have, like Caden Clark, and I don't know if you guys remember, Matthew Hoppe, Julian Araujo that plays, I believe, in Bournemouth right now, that was from LA Galaxy. They all were from the Barcelona Residency Academy in Arizona. Now, from 1 to 5, what do I rate Brooklyn Raines' potential? I would give him a 3. I think he can be a decent to good starter in a top 5 league. Like let's say Joe Scally, like I said previously in the video, right? 3 stars. He could start for a mid-table Bundesliga side, mid-table Italian league side, right? The Serie A. I think that's his potential. And you may be saying that's not very high. Well, if he's doing that, he could arguably, possibly, be a starter for the US men's national team in the future if he reaches his potential. Player number 2 is Noah Kai Banks. The 19-year-old center back from Augsburg that was born in Hawaii. Yeah, he is Hawaiian, but he was mainly developed in Germany. I mean, he's been there since he was a U10 player. Now, he's a Bundesliga starter at age 19 as a center back, and I can't overemphasize about how long it takes for that position to develop. There are not many 19-year-old center backs starting in top 5 leagues, because the center back position and the goalkeeping position, it takes much longer to develop than a forward or a midfielder. So the fact that he's a starter in the Bundesliga and he's been looking fine this season, he's been looking actually quite good at times, is simply incredible. I mean, look at Chris Richards and Tim Ream. It took them quite some time to actually develop into good center backs. And I think Noah Kai Banks is one of the prospects that could make it to the 2026 World Cup roster. He's a fantastic ball-playing defender. He's very technical on the ball. He can dribble into space. He can pick a pass. I would argue only Tim Ream is better than him on the ball. He might become better than Tim Ream very soon on the ball. Now, he's a major prospect. He is one of our top U20 prospects, and for that reason, I give him a 4.5 out of 5 stars rating, which means I don't see world-class potential. I don't see Noah Kai Banks becoming a Virgil van Dijk, right? I don't see that. But I do see him being a Pulisic level as a center back if he maximizes his potential, which means he could very well be a center back for a Champions League team and consistently play well. So not world class, but slightly above elite is how I see his potential. Next up, we have Mathis Albert from Borussia Dortmund. And he's the 16-year-old American winger that is actually currently with Borussia Dortmund's U23s. After being one of their best players at the U19 level at age 16, he will join their U23s in January. Again, he is 16, playing with their U23s at Borussia Dortmund. That reminds me a little bit of like the Christian Pulisic and Gio Reyna path, right? With Dortmund, he could be with their senior team next season when he's 17. In the U17 World Cup, Mathis Albert was clearly the most talented player the United States had. He was an incredible winger, great first touch, can beat his man with ease, and the dude can finish. He's pure talent. You could see it. If you watch the U17 World Cup, you know. Now, he is eligible for a German and French passport, but so far, there has been no indication that he will want to represent any other country besides the United States of America. Now, in terms of how many stars I give him for his potential, I give him 4.5. Again, he's a major talent, and some of you will say, you don't see world-class potential, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he does have world-class potential. I just don't see it. I think if Mathis Albert maximizes his talent, he can be at the same level as Christian Pulisic, which is also very freaking tough. But that is his ceiling for me, Christian Pulisic. 4.5 out of 5. Okay, player number 4, Diego Kochen from Barcelona. Now, before we even continue, don't forget to drop a like in this video and let us know in the comments section down below, what do you rate from 1 to 5 in terms of their potential, every player that I'm mentioning in this video. So let's talk about Kochen. Alright, the 19-year-old goalkeeper from Barcelona, and as I said before, just like the center backs, the goalkeeping position is one that takes a long time to develop. Like if you're a 23-year-old goalkeeper, you're very young. That's like an 18-year-old forward. Now, Kochen was born in Florida, so he's a Florida man. His parents moved to Spain in 2018 due to work, which led to Diego Kochen eventually joining La Masia, the Barcelona academy, in 2019 when he was around 13 years old. Having watched him a few times with our youth teams, mainly with the U20s, and also highlights of his Barcelona B games, this is a rock-solid goalkeeper that is actually quite good with his feet. Actually, right now, with his feet, he's better than any goalkeeper that we have. But again, he has to mature, he has to develop. He's not ready to be a Barcelona starter. He's not ready to be a US men's national team starter. But he is a very highly rated prospect with Barcelona and with the United States. And listen, this is tricky, right? Because even if he becomes a Barcelona starter, it doesn't mean he's a world-class goalkeeper. However, Barcelona thinks he can be the future. And clearly the US program does as well. I think, based on what I saw, if he continues to develop, this is a 5-star prospect. If he maximizes his potential, Diego Kochen, he will be a world-class goalkeeper. But again, that's if he maximizes his potential, okay? That doesn't mean he'll absolutely be world class. He could become elite. He could become just a very good top 5 league starter. He could also flop. But if everything goes well, we may have a world class goalkeeper in the 2030 World Cup. And just like Noah Kai Banks, I think Kochen could be in the 2026 World Cup roster if Pochettino brings him as the third goalkeeper that will absolutely not play. He's not ready right now, right? But do I think he'll be there? Probably not. Player number 5 is Cavan Sullivan from the Philadelphia Union. The 16-year-old attacking midfielder or winger, depending on where the coach plays him, that already has an agreement to join Manchester City when he turns 18. Now, listen, I may get some hate for this, right, for the rating that I'm going to give him. But when I look at Cavan Sullivan, I don't see world-class potential. I see elite potential. And for that reason, I'm going to give him 4 stars out of 5. And I know some of you may disagree with me and they say, Manchester City rates him and he was one of our best players in the U17 World Cup. And I have nothing to counter that. He was, in fact, one of our best players in the U17 World Cup. But I'm trying to look at the player profile, the potential. He was not good in tight spaces. He was a little bit too chaotic at times. The decision-making was iffy, even though that can easily be fixed. I just don't see that world-class potential, that technique on the ball that can make him a world-class player. Now, the mindset is incredible. This is a player that is decisive, he's aggressive, and he gets the job done. And when I rate him 4 stars, I think his potential is to be a slightly better Weston McKennie if he maximizes his potential, which is quite good. I mean, Weston McKennie is a starter for Juventus for years. So don't even try to call me a Cavan Sullivan hater. Now, you're going to say, what about Manchester City? They rate him. And in fact, they do. They signed him, right? He's going to go there when he's 18. But they didn't pay a lot of money for him. And we have also seen Manchester City sign players like Eric Palmer-Brown. How did that go? They also signed Alex Alcala recently, right, from the LA Galaxy. How did that go? Now, I'm not saying Cavan Sullivan will be a flop. I just don't think he'll ever really break through the Man City squad. He might play, he might get a few minutes. I just don't think he'll ever become a starter for them. He's going to have to look elsewhere. Now, regardless, I did just give him 4 out of 5 star rating, which if he does meet that potential, he will very likely be a starter for the US men's national team from 2030 possibly 2040. Like, the kid is only 16 right now. He will be 20 years old in the 2030 World Cup. And if he continues to develop, he will very likely be in the roster for that World Cup and maybe fighting for a starting position. Player number 6 is Davian Kimbrough. And I hope I pronounced his name right. And this is an interesting one because I'm not really going to rate his potential from 1 to 5 because I haven't really watched him. I've only seen highlights. He barely played in USL this season in 2025, which makes sense. This kid is only 15. And he also only played with the United States U16s, and I didn't really watch their games. And he also only played with Mexico's U16s, and I didn't watch their games as well. So I haven't really been able to watch him, therefore I won't rate him. But people that I know and trust said he's a legit prospect, that he's very talented, he's a very talented forward. And I wanted to mention him to you before he becomes mainstream. And now you can keep track of him in 2026. He's going to be playing USL. He's going to be playing for Sacramento. Hopefully he gets minutes. And back in August of 2023, he made his professional debut at age 13. He became the youngest professional athlete in American team sports history. Now, to me, at that time, that was very likely a marketing move. And I think I've been kind of proven right because they gave his debut when he was 13. If you're going to give him his debut, that means you're assuming he's ready or almost ready. Fast forward 2 years, and they're still like not playing him at all. Barely. So 2 years later, he's still not ready. I think that was a marketing move. But regardless of that, he is still a legit prospect. And you should 100% keep track of him, and hopefully he gets minutes this season in USL. Now, there have been reports that Real Madrid is keeping track of him. Now, whether or not that is true, I don't know. But if you think about it, the keep track part is not that crazy. Whether or not they will want to sign him and make an offer, that's a completely different story. But he's a talented 15-year-old, so I wouldn't be surprised if Real Madrid might be just scouting him. Now, Davian is also Mexican-American, as I mentioned earlier, so this could become a very big dual national battle in the near future. Again, I don't have a star rating for his potential. I haven't watched him, only highlights. But if he gets meaningful minutes in USL this season, I will be watching him. And then maybe when we update this video in December of 2026, I'll actually give you my real opinion. But again, I've talked to a few people that have watched him in training and youth games, and they said he's a very, very talented forward. One of the best that we have. Okay, player number 7. And this one might be one that a few people disagree with me, but you have to kind of look at his player profile, right? This is a player that is misused and misunderstood in the United States, and his name is Maxi Carizo. I think all he needs right now is a breakout season in MLS, because his potential to me is higher than a Paxton Aronson, for example. And Paxton Aronson went to the Eredivisie and he was the young player of the year. I think Maxi Carizo can be better than that. I think Maxi Carizo can be actually a very good top 5 league player. If he lands at the right club in Europe and they use him properly, right? He can play as a 10, he can even play out wide, but he's more of a playmaker. He actually does have a good work rate. He's good on the ball. He's very technical. He's clean. He can create. He can pick a pass. If he lands at the right place, I think he has a 3.5 out of 5 stars rating, which would be something similar to a Weston McKennie level, right? Starter for Juventus, for example. And I know some will disagree because he hasn't really had his breakout season. And in the U17 World Cup, Maxi had ups and downs. He had moments where you could see the talent and moments that he wasn't doing so well. I think he will be more of a late bloomer. And by the time he's like 20 or 21, you guys will see that potential that I'm talking about. So don't count him out, and you shouldn't do that to a 17-year-old regardless. But I see the potential there. So again, 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. I know some of you are going to say, what about Ben Cremaschi? Well, I rate him lower than every single player that I mentioned in this video. You may be saying also, what about Josh Winder? I think Josh Winder, I would probably give him like a 3 stars out of 5, which he can be a top 5 league starter, but also lower than all the players I mentioned in this video. Brooklyn Reigns got the same rating. And that's all for today. Now, obviously, there are more prospects, but I wanted to just call or talk about 7. You let me know in the comment section down below any prospects that I didn't mention I should keep track of. And that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.